Imagine it. A conflict reaching every home, every workplace.
Generally, what I try to do is spend time before they win and meet the candidates. So spending time with Keir Starmer.
As billions in public money, countless lives and an entire nation's future are consumed by the war in Ukraine, what happens when a supposed fight for sovereignty becomes a corporate and digital takeover engineered by the very elites claiming to defend it? Hello there, you're Awakening Wonders. Thanks for joining me for Stay Free with Russell Brand Unpacked. Remember, you can support me by supporting my beautiful products. Go to tryreborn.com and get Rumble Premium. You beautiful lunatic. More content, less ads. For more than 2 years, NATO countries in Europe and the United States have poured billions upon billions of taxpayer dollars into funding the war in Ukraine. This money's been framed as a moral necessity, as if questioning its scale or destination is tantamount to betrayal. Yet even as the financial and human toll rises, the cracks in the narrative are widening. The war is not just being prolonged, it's being monetized. NATO's new chief, Mark Rutte, has gone further, urging drastic escalation in joint defense spending to prepare for a coming conflict with Russia that could be on the scale of war our grandparents and great-grandparents endured.
We need to be ready, because at the end of this first quarter of the 21st century, conflicts are no longer fought at arm's length. Conflict is at our door. Russia has brought war back to Europe, and we must be prepared for the scale of war our grandparents and great-grandparents endured. Imagine it. A conflict reaching every home, every workplace. Destruction, mass mobilization, millions displaced, widespread suffering and extreme losses. It is a terrible thought. But if we deliver on our commitments, this is a tragedy we can prevent. NATO is here to protect 1 billion people on both sides of the Atlantic. Our mission is to protect you, your families, your friends, and your future. We cannot let down our guard, and we won't. I count on our governments to keep up with their commitments and go further and faster, because we cannot falter or fail. Listen to the sirens across Ukraine. Look at the bodies pulled from the rubble. Think of the Ukrainians who might go to sleep tonight and not wake up tomorrow. And what is standing between what's happening to them and what could happen to us? Only NATO. I have a duty as Secretary General to tell you what lies ahead if we don't act faster, invest in defense, and continue our support for Ukraine.
The message is clear. There's no ceiling, there's no end. There's only preparation for something bigger, bloodier, and more permanent. At the same time, a different kind of invasion's underway, one conducted not with tanks, but with contracts, memoranda, and digital infrastructure. BlackRock, the world's largest asset manager, is now directly involved in talks to rebuild Ukraine. This is not humanitarian aid, it's a strategic positioning. Ukraine's land, energy systems, housing, stock and digital framework are being lined up for privatization under the banner of reconstruction.
We have already managed to attract attention and have cooperation with such giants of the international financial and investment world as BlackRock, JP Morgan, and Goldman Sachs.
BlackRock's interest is not new.
I do believe, because of the business model of who and what we are, our reach, we're heavily involved in most countries' retirement, whether it's in Mexico, we're the largest third non-Mexican, non-Afore retirement manager. We're the largest retirement manager, non-Japanese, in Japan. You know, we're the largest retirement manager in the UK.
That's amazing, isn't it? In a way, we see Union Jacks and flags that are red dots and Mexican nationalism and Viva Zapata. Oh, Larry Fink and BlackRock, it's a truly international organization. Now, I know a lot of people have invested through massive companies like BlackRock and Vanguard, but it's still an incredible centralized set of powers. And I would say, if you were to observe Larry Fink for 24 hours, you'd be staggered by the way that he lives, the conversations he has, the power that he has, the influence that he has. I don't think you would come away from just 24 hours of listening to his calls, access to his phone, thinking, well, that's just entrepreneurialism. It's something that's way beyond that.
And so having that position, it's all about long-term issues, but it's things that you can't replicate because it's based on years of relationships.
God, it's incredible, actually. It's just one of those interviews you can watch and understand the nature of global power. Maybe you don't need to get into sort of sacrifices and interdimensional beings. It's just Larry Fink describing that they have relationships, long entrenched relationships with countries around the world, and it's got absolutely nothing to do with what you think your nation is about or what your nation is in pursuit of.
And I do go out of my way when there's somebody who's new in their role, a new prime minister. I will spend time. Generally, what I try to do is spend time before they win, and meet the candidates. So, whether it's in Mexico, spending time with Claudia before she won, or spending time with Keir Starmer.
Right.
It's just spending time with them and just saying, you have access to whatever information you need.
That's amazing. Just explaining how it happens. That's globalism and imperialism. It's simply reality. Maybe we don't need to be smitten with inverted commas conspiracy theory. Just present reasonably, calmly, and with corroboration provided by Larry Fink himself to our opponents. Well, look, we want countries, communities, and individual lives that run in accordance with expedience and best outcomes for those very individuals, communities, families, and countries, not secondary sets of financial interests siphoning off revenue and manipulating policy and meeting political leaders before they win. There's no need for us to maintain any of these models anymore. I feel like an amputation is required before the merging of kingdoms. We have to cut this stuff off. For years, Ukraine's agricultural land has been quietly opened to foreign ownership and control, often against the wishes of its own population. War has accelerated the process, crisis has lowered resistance, assets that would once have been politically untouchable are now framed as necessary collateral for survival. This is not reconstruction after peace, it's an acquisition during war. The digital dimension's even more revealing. BlackRock CEO Larry Fink previously told shareholders that the invasion of Ukraine could accelerate the adoption of central bank digital currencies. This was not framed as a side effect, it was framed as an opportunity. The CBDCs promise total visibility, programmability, and control over money itself. They allow states and their partners to monitor, restrict, and condition economic behavior in real time. Ukraine, devastated and dependent, is the perfect testing ground. The future's already being rolled out. Ukraine's announced partnerships with big tech aimed at creating a fully digital society. Government services identify systems. Payment and data are being integrated into centralized platforms. Cash is being phased out. AI systems are being embedded into governance. What is sold as efficiency and modernization is in practice the construction of a state-controlled digital environment where dissent, privacy, and economic autonomy are easily managed away. This is the part of the story rarely discussed. Western governments and their corporate allies are not simply defending Ukraine, they're reshaping it. The war provides the justification. The emergency removes consent. The funding creates leverage. Ukraine becomes a beta test for a future many elites want everywhere. Cashless, automated, financially shriveled, politically constrained. The human cost of this transformation is immense. Ukrainians pay in lives, displacement, and loss of sovereignty. Western citizens pay through taxes, inflation, and the slow militarization of their own societies. Meanwhile, the same leaders who warn of a generational war sign deals that ensure reconstruction profits flow upward, not back to the people whose country's been shattered. This is the familiar pattern of modern war. Crisis is exploited, public fear, weaponized, wealth and control consolidated under the guise of necessity. The war is extended not only because it serves geopolitical aims, but because it keeps the machinery running. Arms manufacturers profit, asset managers profit, digital control systems become normalized in the process. Ukraine's tragedy is a real one. Its suffering's pretty undeniable, but that suffering is being used to justify endless funding without accountability, used to excuse corruption, used to push through a model of privatized recovery and digital governance that would never survive public scrutiny in peacetime. What is being built in Ukraine will not stay in Ukraine. If this model succeeds, it will be exported. War funded by taxpayers. Reconstruction owned by corporations. Daily life mediated by algorithms and state-approved platforms. This is, of course, not about defending democracy. It's about redefining democracy into something unrecognizable. Ukraine is not fighting for its future. It's being turned into a prototype for all our futures. But that's just what I think. Let me know what you think in the comments and chat. Remember, we do this show on Rumble 3 times a week at these times. And if you want to support me, buy this stuff. Mwah! Cook with that. Tallow. Delicious. Drink and devour bovine colostrum and get yourself ready for a global war by making your mind razor sharp with methylene blue. Go to tryreborn.com. Every dollar you spend gets you entered into a draw to win this Jeep. More important than any of that, if you can, please stay free. Thanks for watching the video. Have a look at this one over here, or join us Monday, Wednesday and Friday on Rumble.